What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. And once again, we are back with Girl Gone London. Y'all make sure y'all go and subscribe to her channel. I will drop her channel link as well as this video link in the comment section. So go show her channel some love. We got 7 British insults I had never heard before moving to the UK. Some British insults would be like mean. Like they can cut deep. They can cut deep. I'm excited to hear these though. Before we jump in, if you enjoy, don't forget to subscribe, give a bit of thumbs up. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, all you gotta do is hit the join button to receive your exclusive benefits. Let's get to it.
We are not offended in the absolute slightest by the use of this word around us because we have no context of it being a rather obscene swear word. Hi and welcome back to the Girl Gone London channel. My name is Kaylin. I'm a dual UK and American citizen, and today I am talking about some British insults that I had never heard before moving to the UK. Now, I would like to say that not all of these have been directed at me during my time here. Some of them have, but half the time, I didn't know someone was insulting me or what they actually meant, so it didn't matter anyway. We often talk about words and phrases that are used in the UK but not used in the US, and so I just thought we'd take a little bit of an insulting slant. Now, British people in their minds right now are probably thinking the most obscene insults that you can think of because I feel like that's just how the British work. This is a family channel, kind of. So we are going with some of the less intense, but still.
Okay, they're good, because like I said, some of them British insults can cut deep. So, but family channel, we ain't going with the intense insult.
Quite funny, silly, and still insulting phrases that are used in the UK and not so much in the US. Now, the first on my list is the term Muppet, which is often used in the UK like, you Muppet, you forgot your keys, or like you Muppet, you, I don't know, did something foolish. It's kind of like an incompetent person, but it's meant in a sort of affectionate way. It's not really an intense or really bad insult. You couldn't be like that angry calling someone a Muppet. I had never heard the use of the phrase Muppet to insult somebody, though. In America, we would typically just default in our heads to the Muppets. So if you said this to an American, we would be thinking that you're comparing us to Kermit the Frog or Miss Piggy, which I would say is not an insult. And the next UK insulting...
Yeah, you Muppet. I ain't never heard that one before. Yeah, we wouldn't say that here in the US, but yeah, I guess that's that was foolish. That was stupid. You Muppet. Like, yeah, I'll talk to you in the comment section. Give me a clear definition of how it insults someone.
Phrase on my list is definitely like a kid-friendly one, and it's I've heard people call their kids silly sausages. Again, it's quite a nice insult. It's said affectionately, if that's possible. It's a very gentle comment about doing something silly or doing something daft. Again, it's not something that you say like in anger when you're actually like yelling at somebody or disciplining someone. You would then look stupid calling someone a silly sausage. But we don't call people silly sausages in America. This is a very like quintessential British phrase, I feel like. And it's quite nice. Next on my list is kind of a list of phrases. So you could say someone is thick as a plank, thick as mince, I've heard. Thicker than a submarine door is one that I found on the internet. And this is referring to someone who is stupid. So thick meaning stupid, not intelligent. You can get creative with the ending. So comment below, what's your favorite thick as blank insult, but we wouldn't really use this in the US because we don't use the word thick to mean stupid. Typically when we hear the word thick, we are literally thinking about something that is large or actually thick. So it has to do with a measurement as opposed to someone being stupid. So if you called an American thick as a plank, we'd most likely think that you're calling us fat rather than stupid. Now the next one on my list is...
Yeah, we wouldn't really use stick to call people stupid. I would say something that y'all use, I think I've heard in British videos that we call people stupid is like, oh, they're a couple sandwiches short of a picnic. But we'd say the lights ain't on, the lights ain't all on up there. Something like that. They ain't got it all up there. To call someone stupid in a sense. But yeah, thick That I guess that's not a word we use to insult someone, really. Nah.
Another kind of cute one, WallE. Again, it's a more gentle insult, but it refers to someone who is inept. And based on my research, the lore is that it originated at a festival in the late 1960s, like a music festival, when a man named Walter got separated from his friend group. Allegedly, they all started searching for him, calling WallE, and eventually the whole crowd got in on the joke, chanting WallE, again, kind of like as a joke. Did this really happen? Did I find first-person resources who said I was there and this happened? No. So take this with a grain of salt, but that is the kind of tale behind it. Now, we wouldn't use the name or the insult of WallE in America.
No.
Even our version of Where's Wally is called Where's Waldo in the US. And we'd have no idea what it meant if you called us a WallE. We wouldn't use the term Waldo in the same way, so we wouldn't call someone a Waldo as an insult. No. When I think of the word WallE, I think of like a wallaby, which maybe actually is an insult, could be an insult in and of itself. But the term WallE, again, is a very kind of British sounding insult to me that we don't use in the US. Next on my list is 3 slices short of a loaf or a...
There it is right there. I said this one earlier because I've heard this multiple times in different videos.
Sandwich short of a picnic. This is another way to say someone is dumb or lacking intelligence, but using food to basically illustrate that you're not all there. You're not all with it.
Yeah.
America has similar types of insults. We actually have a lot, but we tend to use things like not the sharpest knife in the drawer, not the sharpest tool in the shed, which is part of a famous song. We might also say, and you can let me know if you say this in the UK, we could say the lights are on, but nobody's home. The elevator doesn't go to the top floor. Not the brightest bulb. Or not the brightest crayon in the box. But we wouldn't necessarily use the bread or picnic or sandwich inspired version that I've heard in the UK.
She definitely got all the US ones locked in on that one, and those we would use all of those.
The next insulting British thing on my list that I hadn't heard of before moving to the UK is actually a gesture. And it is an insulting gesture to do to someone where you put 2 of your fingers up at them. And I'm not going to do it on the camera, though it means nothing to me, which I'll explain in a minute. But you basically do a peace sign with your fingers, with your palm facing yourself. It's definitely not nice. It could be used jokingly between friends or someone that you know well, but it could also be put up to someone who just cut you off in traffic or whatever it is. Now, I could guess what this gesture meant when I first moved to the UK if I had to, but I had never seen this particular gesture because in the US, we don't do this.
No.
We do something very similar, but that's putting your middle finger up. This is a widely known insulting gesture in the US, putting your middle finger up at them, and it's called giving someone the middle finger. But once you add another finger to the situation, to an American, we would just be confused at what you're doing. And the next British insult on my...
I know how y'all do it. I don't know exactly what it means. Like she said, it don't really mean nothing to me. But I've seen that in multiple videos as well. Is that basically, like she said, basically the equivalent of sticking the middle finger up? I would assume, My
list is one I've actually always wanted to talk about, and it's the word bloody. Now, the word bloody in the UK is not necessarily an insult, but it is a swear word. Now, one of the most fascinating things that happens to me in the UK is that someone will say this word around me, and unlike other swear words, well, they'll just keep talking. Often if someone says this, they'll apologize as if they've just said something pretty intense. And I get this particularly from generations who are older than me. Americans do not use this word at all in the same way. We would use bloody as just a descriptive word, and maybe you cut your finger and your finger's bloody. That's where it ends. We've only heard this word as like a swear word in Harry Potter, basically. And this has created an experience for Americans in the UK, whether visiting or living, where we basically don't think of this word as anything serious. Because what is Harry Potter? It's a fantasy story for children. So the word bloody to us sounds like a funny word. not that serious, a fantastical word associated with flying unicorns or whatever else.
Yeah.
We are not offended in the absolute slightest by the use of this word around us because we have no context of it being a rather obscene swear word. And this is what I love about language because, again, somebody who did grow up in the UK, again, particularly certain generations, could say this word around me and feel like they've possibly offended me or they need to apologize for saying something obscene. Whereas to me, it doesn't even clock, it doesn't even register as something that would be insulting or obscene. The next phrase on my list is, again, could be a group of phrases, but one that I found
bloody. I thought y'all just used bloody in the sense of to like there was another word after bloody, like it was an adjective to explain the next. That was a bloody ripper. That was a great time, or that's what I thought is more of a explanatory. I don't know. That is more of an adjective. Y'all talk to me in the comment section. Tell me how wrong I am. I would love to hear. But that's kind of how I thought y'all use the word.
Particularly repeated often is a face that would frighten a police horse. People would also say this like a face like a insert the blank, fill in the blank.
A face that only a mother could love.
With something insulting. The only similar insult that we would use often in the US is a face only a mother could love. Yeah. And that means someone or something is ugly. But I feel like in the US, we don't get quite as creative with the options here. No. We just like go straight to making you feel insecure that only your mom loves you. Whereas in the UK, this phrase is often associated with like horses and donkeys. But you can also say other things. So let me know your comments below. How would you fill in the blank in this insulting British phrase, a face like a blank or a face that would blank? And the last word on my list is numpty. It's mildly insulting. Again, it can be used as an affectionate phrase. It's not necessarily the meanest insult that you've ever heard. It started around the 1980s in the UK. And it means it's someone, again, is being like daft or stupid. In the UK, we do have a similar word. We would use the phrase numbskull, which again is not particularly scathing, but this is actually said to be the origin of numpty. So similar, but we don't really use the phrase numpty in the US. Now that brings me to the end of this video. So if you're not from the UK, you've just learned some interesting insults. And if you are from the UK, leave a comment down below. What's your favorite British insult? If your comment doesn't show up, it's probably because YouTube deleted it and censored it, not me. But I would love to hear some of your more creative insults that you can think of that are used in the UK. As always, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, I would love to hear y'all's comments. I would love to hear y'all's insults. What's the best insult? And then you can insult me in the comment section. I'd love to hear so. That's all we've got. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe, get a bit of thumbs up, and check out the next one. I'll see y'all.